Allen's Reverse Speech Trance Sessions Overview. November/December 1995. May 25, 2025 Updates. The trances are about leaving an older way of being, deactivating destructive metaphoric processes, rewriting the scroll of life's plan, and taking up residency in a new Eden. Metaphors, objects, and activities in order of introduction in the trance session work. First, Rome, whirlwind, hall of records, woman, scroll of life's plans, goddess, Lord, journey to the desert oasis. Second, north and south whirlwinds. Satan from the south wind sent to an eastern ice tomb. Owl extracted from north wind. Garden of Eden, serpent and lawyer. Third, the lass, journey to Ark of the Covenant. The horse, the soul's plan of life, erasure of warts. Return on the golden path to Eden. Fourth, the wolf resuscitated. Aladdin introduced and given a wand. Rosalind is summoned from a tar pit, decapitated, and buried. Aladdin taught mirroring by the lass. The monument receives the updated scroll from the lawyer. The Aladdin gives a ball of magic transformational energy. Journey to, repair ore, and sailing out of the ship of business on the western shore. Side trip to the Alexander Sea. Fifth, journey on the repaired ship with Wolf to the new island. The phone booth and entry into it. Sixth, the horse, left and right whirlwinds. The Earl, journey to the new Eden. A fountain. The palace, its treasure, the elk, the throne. The eagle. Seating of the new Eden landscape with treasure jewels. Post-work, white wolf, she-wolf, and puppies. First, trance details. This trance is about a journey to the desert and access of the initial metaphors. A scroll of life's plans is presented for correction. A vision of some old Egyptian temple columns is presented in the trance induction. A view out through the columns shows a landscape of a flat desert although not of sand. The start of the trance involves an activation of the metaphor for Rome, the seat of life's business energy. The imagery is of the entrance to a large commercial, governmental, library, or hall of justice structure. It has Roman columns, 8 of them, and several terraces of stepways leading up from the street to the entrance. The initial view of the Rome building is from an elevated position of roughly 100 feet looking down on the building entrance from a southwest perspective. A request is made to activate the metaphor for the whirlwind, but I have trouble seeing it. There are no other people about. The Rome building is situated in a city with other buildings around it but not on organized streets that are straight with perpendicular intersections. I enter the Rome building through its foyer. There is a request made for an activation of the woman metaphor. This leads from the foyer to a right turn down of a hall of records imagery seen in prior dreams and hypnosis sessions. The first room on the right is entered. There is a woman in her mid to late 40s standing there. I pass her, turn around and look back. She is attractive with long hair. She points over my shoulder in the direction I was going towards and insists that I continue that way. I look forward and back at her again and she gets impatient with me and again insists on my moving on. She has her right arm pointing straight out past me and her left hand on her hip. She wears a light tan gingham gown that reaches to her ankles and has a wide belt. Her dress is very much like that of the woman in the Maxfield Parrish painting Enchantment for Edison Mazda. Her hair is blonde and shoulder length. She is a no-nonsense person and is rather stern. I turn in the indicated direction and step out of the room, apparently through some French doors, into a yard area that is bounded on the left by the exterior of the Hall of Records and on the right by the Rome building, I guess. There is a large tree to the right, south, and a view off to the southeast in the distance of snow-capped mountains. It is summer. Odd as it is, the yard area and tree were not visible from the initial view of the Rome building. Indeed, the passage through the Hall of Records room seems to have taken me out of the Rome metaphor. Commentary: the woman does not seem to match the Ars Dictionary metaphor description, though she does seem to know what is going on and that I should not dawdle in looking at her, rather I should get moving and be busy about it. A request is made to activate the metaphors for the goddess, the Lord, and a scroll of life. Details are inaccurate here, although the scroll is wound around a bobbin or scepter and is sealed or tied with a ribbon. There is something wrong with the information written on the scroll and we are to deal with it. I carry the scroll in my left hand or give it to the Lord to carry. Throughout all of the trances I never get to see what is written on the scroll. What a bummer given that I paid for all of this. A request is made to activate the metaphor for the oasis in the desert. The imagery immediately shifts to a scene of an American Indian/Mexican/American Old Western place in a desert area, not sand dunes as in Egypt, where there is the ruin of a Spanish dwelling with the shade cover of a large tree. We are in the shade of the tree facing east looking off into the distant mountains, perhaps the same ones as seen from the Rome imagery. The goddess is on my left holding my left hand and the Lord is on the right holding my right hand and somewhere in there is the scroll. The imagery shifts here between my holding the scroll with the goddess or the Lord having it in his right hand. This ends the first trance. Second, trance details. This trance is about dealing with the Satan metaphor and a journey to the Garden of Eden metaphor. The owl metaphor is introduced and requested to leave the whirlwind it is in so as to disconnect the intellect from the process of reconstruction. The trance starts of where we left off in the first session. The goddess, Lord, and I are facing off to the east. A request is made to activate the metaphors for two whirlwinds. One comes from the north and the other from the south. I am asked to slow down the south whirlwind and dissipate it. This whirlwind has been the context out of which I have been operating in all this life. We are to shut down that wind energy and its problems and start using a new wind force, at least for a while. I slow the wind down and it goes away, but a residual dark column, tornado-like in appearance, remains. The Satan metaphor resides in the column. I am asked to extract the Satan from the column and squeeze the life out of the column. This is done and a residual glop of the column sinks down into the desert floor as if crude oil were poured on the ground. There is a request to send the Satan metaphor to the mountains in the east. The Satan is sent off. It is real pissed and gives me the finger. I check up on where it is sent, and see that it is encased in a horizontal block of ice on top of a stone tomb. The encased Satan is buried in the tomb and left there. In the following days my imagination returns to the tomb to ensure that the Satan is still locked up in there. Much of the imagery of the ice tomb is similar to related imagery of similar tombs seen while reading L. Ron Hubbard's science fiction book of Battlefield Earth. I return back to the oasis and describe the remaining north whirlwind. It is silver-colored and rotating counterclockwise. There are some streaks of gray in the wind and a request is made to have the owl metaphor come out of the north wind and fly off to the east. This is done, but I do not check up on where it has gone. I remark that there is directed internal instruction from the imagery to deliberately verbally say that the whirlwind color is gray, as opposed to white. A request is made to have the goddess, Lord, and myself with the scroll leave the oasis and journey to the activated metaphor of the Garden of Eden. This is done. The garden is to the north or northeast. We walk there in an instant. Entry to the garden is from an eastern side and I immediately see trees, grass, and other objects. The imagery looks like a picture out of an art book. The trees are mostly fruit-bearing up to 10 foot in height with spherical-shaped foliage. The garden appears to be about 150 yards in diameter and is circular-shaped. The area outside the garden is like the desert. There are no closed gates, functional walls, or barriers to the garden entrance. The initial and central focus view is upon a tree directly in the center. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There is a snake, serpent, coiled up in the branches. I approach the tree and the serpent comes out of it. Unlike the dealings with the other metaphor objects, there is no need to tell or direct the serpent to move or change its behavior. The serpent came out of the tree on its own volition or somehow knew that it was supposed to do so. There is a request to have the Lord and the snake leave and go off and sleep together. They leave to a northern area of the garden. I never see either of them again in any further trance. The goddess is still with me and I have the scroll in hand. A request is made to activate the metaphor of the lawyer. The scroll is given to the lawyer and he unwinds it and views its contents. Later on he has a clipboard to hold it. He does not show me the contents of the scroll. A request is made to go to a bed area, it appears in the south of the garden, and to sleep there with the goddess. This ends the second trance. A note about light intensity. The differences in the imagery of the sky seems important here. The view from the oasis has a sky that is essentially clear blue. The mountains to the east have little if any snow-covered capping. They appear to be about 50 miles away. The sun has not yet reached its zenith and there is no wind, breeze, or air movement. In contrast, the sky over the Eden area seems to be slightly overcast, that is, the light intensity is darker and not as bright as the oasis area. The heaven area in the third trance has no appearance of a sun at all. The lighting there seems to come from some undifferentiated source and is even less well illuminated than the Eden area. Third trance details. This trance involves a journey to the Ark of the Covenant and a removal of warts and blemishes from the soul's plan of life. The lawyer transcribes the repaired wording from the plan to the scroll. We return to the Eden area. The trance starts out with the goddess and I lying down on a bed and facing upwards. The goddess is to my left and our feet are oriented towards the north. There is an immediate sensation of sinking down into and below the surface of the mattress. I remark on this and a request is made to stop the sinking. Reversals in the prior monitor tape warns of this and gives instructions to stop and instead rise upwards. I reverse the direction and we rise upwards into the sky. It is as if there is an elevator made of a light column. Somehow the lawyer and the lass join us. They may have been with the goddess and I on the bed. As with the serpent, there was no request made to activate the metaphor of the lass. The elevator takes us to an image of heaven filled with white shifting clouds around our feet. I cannot see what we are walking on although it is firm. We walk from the elevator door to a representation of the Ark of the Covenant. It looks like the Ark from the Raiders of the Ark movie. I open up the Ark and see white iridescent sand in the interior, also from the movie. I am asked to step into the Ark with the lass, the lawyer, and the scroll. We do so but it is very crowded and nothing seems to be happening. There is a feeling of real frustration at this point in that we are crowded in the Ark and nothing seems to be working. We try something new. A request is then made to activate the metaphor of the horse. We get out of the Ark, and the lass and I get on the horse. I am in the back and the lass is in the front. The lawyer leads the horse and us to the left and we come to a stone, marble, structure of a 4-foot-high lectern. On its sloping surface is a single sheet of parchment, about 12 by 18 inches. This is the soul's written plan of incarnation and reincarnation. I am requested to look at the plan and see the warts. I do so and see them but cannot read any of the written words. What a bummer. I erase the warts with a visual image of a mouse cursor clicking check boxes away. The lawyer then looks at the plan and transcribes the cleaned up instructions from the plan to the scroll that he has on his clipboard. We then walk back, without the horse apparently, to the Ark. I am asked what the lass is doing. I see her scooping her right hand through the iridescent sand in the Ark. She is having fun with it. As she does so the sand color changes from white to golden sparkles, or what appears to be floating gold dust. She takes a handful of the sparkles and throws it back in the direction of the light elevator. The gold sparkles drift down into the white billowy clouds, sweep the clouds away and reveal a bordered pathway paved in solid shiny gold leading the way back to the elevator. The path is 5 foot wide. The lass, the lawyer with scroll and clipboard, and I return on the path and immediately reappear back in the Garden of Eden. The goddess does not return with us. This ends the third trance. The imagery in the heaven area has a remarked difference with that of the other areas. There is little in the way of distance viewing. The backdrop behind the Ark and the lectern was rather dark and featureless, almost as if the backdrop was a stand of densely spaced trees. The view from the arc area back towards the light elevator had more illumination, but the backdrop was fogged or of cloud with no discernible horizon. Fourth trance session details. This session deals with nourishing the wolf, eliminating Rosalind and its abode, having the last teach the Aladdin, some interaction with the monument structure, and leaving the Eden for a damaged ship on the western shore that is in need of repair. The ship is backed out from the shore in preparation for traveling to an island. Later on there is a discussion about an apparent personal metaphor reference to the Alexander Sea. The trance starts out with my having just returned from the third trance arc trip. The lawyer has been working on the scroll on the clipboard. A request is made to activate the metaphor of the wolf. This is the first access of the wolf. It appears as small and damaged. The hindquarters are emaciated and almost skeletal. A request is made to feed the wolf. A rabbit is brought out of the undergrowth of the garden, the wolf catches it and swallows it whole. A request is made to access the metaphor of Rosalind. This is the first such Rosalind reference. The imagery is of a tar pit, about 8 to 10 feet in diameter, in the area to the eastern part of Eden. I was requested to look for the figure of a woman, but there is no person there. I make a figure of a body rise up out of the tar pit. Its features are heavily coated in the tar and are indistinguishable. It is very angry at being summoned. A request is made to have the wolf kill the Rosalind. The wolf jumps to the neck of Rosalind, bites through the neck and decapitates the head from the body. I am requested to bury the head and body. A shovel appears, I dig a hole, shovel in the body, cover it with some dirt, throw the head in and cover the rest up with the remainder of the dirt. There is a stink, the one real instance of smell in all of the trances, about the Rosalind body. I wonder about how the wolf cleans out its mouth. The taste must be horrible. A request is made to access the metaphor of the Aladdin. He appears as a boy of about age 13 and looks to me like the genie in the brass oil lamp from a movie I have seen. A request is made to access the metaphor of the wand, which comes from the Aladdin and appears to me in two forms. One is as a music conductor's baton, thin and pointed, the other as crooked and bent as the one in the Willow movie with the covering glow of iridescent white. A request is made to have the wand eliminate the residual tar pit from which the Rosalind was summoned. I point the Willow wand at the tar pit and its substance is sucked up into the tip end of the wand and disappears completely. The sense is that the tar and the pit were only an ink stain on the surface of Eden and just a false image rather than something that was really a part of the grounds. I discard the wand. We leave the Rosalind grave and approach a low-height monument obelisk-shaped structure in the western portion of the garden. The vision of the monument came to me during a meditation hour before the prior Sunday's church service. The monument could easily be confused for a cemetery marker in a typical 1800s era burial ground. Commentary: the image to the left is close to what I saw, but not exact. My image does not have the two base blocks as it sits directly on the ground. But, note the sloping sides at the top. The monument is about 3 foot square at its base, rises up for 4 feet and the tapers to a pyramid peak point. A request is made to have the lass teach the Aladdin freedom by mirroring the hand motion actions of the lass. Commentary: 30 years later and I still do not understand how teaching the Aladdin freedom relates to my trances, though I do note that I received the magic ball of transformational energy only after the last taught lesson is completed. I watch them facing each other standing in front of the monument as the lass reaches out her left hand, palm facing out, and the Aladdin nearly touches it with his right palm. I am confused about this at first but later on see that he is immediately doing a mirroring action. This has the feeling of a dance lesson being conducted. The lass holds her hand up in the air and moves it around in a circular-like motion in front of the Aladdin. The Aladdin follows the movement of the lass's left hand with his right hand. The lawyer brings the updated scroll up to the face of the monument. A lectern maximizes out of the forward triangular face of the monument and the scroll is placed on its surface. Somewhere along here the Aladdin presents me with a ball of magic transformational energy. It is as large as a basketball. All of a sudden, without my giving direction, the lass, the Aladdin, the scroll on the lectern, and maybe the lawyer, all telescope down and disappear together into the front face of the monument, as if their representational window images were being minimized onto the desktop as icons or are being put back into their folders. I am left with the wolf and the ball of magic transformational energy, and we are requested to leave the Garden of Eden and take a journey. But, before the direction of where to go is given, I appear at an approach to an ocean shore in the west. The direction is then given to go to the ocean shore and I give a laugh. I remark about this. Who is leading this trance session? The images is of a seashore with me standing on a beach and looking out to the west over the water. The sky has a few clouds. It is summer. To the south on the shore is cliff or peninsula-shaped rock. To the north is a curving shoreline leading to a sailing ship that is anchored with its bow pointing directly inland, that is, the ship is not tied up at a wharf and is not aligned parallel to the shore. I approach the ship and observe that something is very wrong with its structural appearance. There is a small mast in the front but there is no larger main or mizzen mast in the back. I get up on the forward deck of the ship, ball in hand and wolf following. I look towards the west and see the damage to the ship's aft deck and interior. There is a pit, 15 foot across and 10 foot deep of splintered and fractured wood, from what appears to be the explosion of an artillery shell that the ship took in battle. I am requested to clean up the mess, and what a mess it is. Without thought, reason, or suggestion, I toss the ball of transformational magic into the pit and immediately the mess is cleaned up, the ship deck surface reappears, and the main mast and rigging are back in place. I walk to the back of the repaired ship and look back towards the shore. The wolf is still in the front. A request is made to back the ship out from the shore into the ocean. The wolf joins me in the back and we sail backwards for about 1/2 mile, and this ends the formal part of the trance. Since we are here at an ocean setting, I ask about requesting more information on just what the Alexander C. metaphor reference is about that was obtained from a study of the reversals in the first interview. David had made a direct point of remarking about the clarity and unusualness of the Alexander C. reversal, but that the term was not in the reverse speech dictionary. The question is posed to me about the source of the term and my imagery changes to a photograph of a southern view of a white column-like structure that emerges from the water. It is pitted and irregularly shaped. The color is bleached white. The surface is rocky. It may be a section of land or whatever that is in an area of what seems to be the Aegean or Adriatic Sea in the old Grecian times. It has more a sense of when than where. I cannot see all of the pillar as its view is clipped on the left by the photograph. The imagery is more of a picture rather than terrain that I can cast my view over. There is something wrong or dangerous about it. Subsequent analysis of the reversals in the verbal description I related in the fourth trance discussion gives an instruction to have me sink the pillar into the ocean with an anchor, as it would encumber the sailing of the ship in the next trance. The pillar represents stuff from the past that cannot be dealt with at this point in time, but can at least be gotten out of the way. This ends the fourth trance. Following the end of the trance is a discussion about the Alexander C. reversal. Years later, on July 31, 2003, there is a revisiting of the session and the C reversal, which gives more insight into the nature of the reversal and a subsequent further dealing with it. Fifth trance session. This is a short session preceded by another monitor tape. The imagery continues with my being at the stern of the repaired ship. The ship is turned counterclockwise to the west away from the shoreline and sailed out into the ocean. An island appears and the wolf and I depart. I am asked to look for any particular building structures. I make a quick aerial scan of the island and only find a rock pit on its western shore. The scan of the island is done while levitating, the only instance of such travel. I am requested not to deal with the rock pit. We walk on a path to the interior of the island and approach a structure, herein called the phone booth for lack of a better term. The structure has some similarity to the imagery of the entrance to the powerhouse in the Myst game. It is made of stone or concrete block or brick. It is about 5 foot across and deep, about 8 foot high, with an inverted V-shaped roof. It looks very Roman in appearance. It has a door of thin dark slate that opens to the outside with hinges on the left. There is no door handle. Commentary: I have another image in my mind that may have been of a different building, but this one is close. Note in the back right corner is the appearance of stairway going down to the underground actual powerhouse, which is more in line with my thoughts about underground pools of water. I walk into the structure, where is the wolf, turn around and look back out. The door remains open, but I look for a light switch to turn on and do not find one. There is no telephone in the booth. This ends the fifth trance. In the following days I reflect on the imagery of the phone booth and have the sense and desire that in the next trance session we will descend through an as yet not revealed internal door that will lead to a subterranean area where there are some large sunken swimming pools. The water in the pool has something to do with submerged emotions. Sixth trance, December 12, 1995. This is the final trance session. It deals with shutting down an old whirlwind pattern, entering a new wind and taking up residency in a new Eden. The imagery here has more prophetic import to it than any of the other scenes. The intent of this trance is to shut down or maybe just leave the old Eden metaphor and start up a new Eden that has the power and resources to lead me into a newer and more productive being. The trance induction had the shifting of images of the Egyptian temple from the first session, except that I could walk out and look back at the structure. There seemed to be more freedom and choice of movement. Two palm trees have an inviting hammock strung between them. I am curious about the hammock but decide not to investigate further. The induction also brought forward an image seen many years earlier while I was reading the Third Eye paperback book. The image was of the little death sleep chamber in the bowels of the Potala, except that my image of myself lying on a tomb gets up off of the tomb slab and looks at the surface of the slab as if it is a computer monitor screen. Oddly enough, there is another person, though I do not think a metaphor, that is lying on an adjacent tomb. I think the other person is a woman, but her identity is vague and not understood. The lead-in also gives mention of a reversal about the surfer stuck in the mud, and I see through the slab surface screen a man standing in a wide open area of mud, very flat and featureless, but deep only up to the ankle. I think the man is a representation of one of my business interests regarding use of the website technology. I wonder about where things were left off at in the last trance. I remarked that I thought we would use the phone booth structure as a portal to an underground area, but that does not happen. The trance continues with me being in the phone booth. The wolf enters it with me. We are facing south out of the doorway of the booth. A request is made to activate the metaphor of an old left whirlwind, off to the east, and a new right wind, to the west. A request is made to have the horse appear and to start shining it up with a brush. The imagery gets strange here. I somehow leave and also stay in the booth. I walk around the horse's left side and brush it with a grooming brush in my left hand and shine the horse up. It is a palomino. Very large and strong. The horse backs up to the left whirlwind and with its hind hooves kicks dirt and sand from the island onto the wind. The dirt and sand dissipates the wind, although some residual part of it remains up in the air. I am asked to activate the metaphor of the Earl. He appears and points out a path of grey brick to the right whirlwind. I look where he is pointing. The whirlwind is more golden colored now and there is a pot of gold in its interior. A request is made to enter the new right wind with the Earl and Wolf and travel to a new unnamed destination. I come, without the others, to the place that my inner child family hangs out at, and they all wave hello, but indicate that their area is not where I am supposed to go to. They all point off to the west and indicate another place. I go there. This new place is quite different from the Eden imagery of the second trance. It is much larger and sparsely populated with widely distanced trees. The lighting is much brighter and sunnier than any of the other place images. I cannot see the boundaries of this land, however there is a mountain ridge to the south and it seems like there is an ocean not too far off to the west. It looks uninhabited. The ground has a shorter cropped and lighter green colored grass, almost like astroturf. There is a very large fountain in a central area of the New Eden. It has water flowing through it most of the time that I look at it. I still do not understand its importance. I am facing to the west and turn around to the left, south, and look eastward. I see the palace in the sky, from the Thomas Cole painting Voyage of Life, youth painting, only my palace is without the spherical dome and is situated on the ground and not somewhere unreachable in the air. This place is huge. Much bigger by several orders of magnitude than the Rome building from the first trance. There are 3 sequences of terraced steps and very deep platforms leading up to the palace entrance. I walk up into its interior. Where is the wolf? I am transported to the interior of the palace on the main floor. The ceiling is 100 foot high and there are massive 10-foot diameter support pillars arrayed in 2 columns in the interior reaching from the front to the back. I cannot see the distant far side walls of the palace. All of the lighting seems to come in through the front entrance. In the center area is a spread out mound of treasure, gold coins, diamonds, rubies, emeralds and such. The mound must be 30 feet in diameter and rises to a height of 3 foot in the center. There is nothing guarding it nor is there any need for a guard. I am standing in the shadow of one of the support pillars on the right hand, south, side. My view of the center of the Mount of Treasure is from the southeast. It is almost as if I am hiding behind the pillar and not wanting to be seen. I am asked to activate the metaphor of the Earl. He appears to my left about 16 feet away near the rim and the proper front of the treasure mound, west side. I am then asked to activate the metaphor of the elk. It appears on the other side of the treasure mound from me, northwest side. It walks around the mound, counterclockwise, and stands behind and to the side the Earl. Suddenly a water well bucket, wood construction with iron ring section as a handle, is presented to me by the Earl. I take the bucket, walk up to the edge of the mound and scoop up some of the treasure to fill the bucket to overflowing. The Earl and elk are indicating that I own and am due all of that which I see. I enter the mound of treasure and find myself sitting on a throne in the center looking directly out through the palace entrance to the west, towards where the Earl and elk are standing. I look around behind my back to the front surface of the chair and see my name of Alan written on it. At this point my imagery view leaves my body to an elevated position on the southeast side of the mound and looks down at myself as I suddenly get up and look around to the back of the throne. I see myself looking at a past life Egyptian name written in hieroglyphics that I had when I was once priest to Pharaoh. I remark I do not know how to pronounce it or read the lettering. There seems to be an urgent need to assure myself that the text of the name has not been erased. There is a great sense of significance to the Egyptian time frame of the name and that the name has not been erased from the chair. My imagery view then returns to my body. I leave the mound of treasure with the bucket of jewels and ride out of the palace on the horse. A request is made to access the metaphor of the eagle. My view shifts to the vantage point of the eagle flying up and out over the land of the New Eden. The view is to the west. The trance is being terminated now, but the imagery continues on my own direction. I get off of the horse and stop on the final terrace platform in front of the palace just before the land of the New Eden. I see myself holding the bucket of treasure to my chest in my left arm, reaching into it with my right hand, grabbing handfuls of the gems and throwing or casting them out onto the landscape of the New Eden. I throw with such force that some of the jewels land, some many miles away, beyond the range of my visibility. The gems are the seeds of new financial growth, putting the riches of the treasure to work. This ends the 6th and final trance. In a subsequent non-reverse speech trance meditation in 2004, I revisit and resume the final scene of the 6th trance and meet up with a doe, female deer, also not in the Ars dictionary, who leads me from where I was last standing out into the then more forested expanse of the New Eden to where the water fountain is located. I meet the Earl again and he presents me with a flattened ruby crystal which he places on the third eye area of my forehead. The ruby sinks into my head as the Earl remarks more data than you can ever possibly imagine, presumably, and I get goosebumps as I type this, about the alien Nephilim involvement in Atlantis. Astrology notes, from Google searches and AI overviews. Mercury is in Sagittarius in early December 1995, signifying a direct, enthusiastic, and often unfiltered communication style. Individuals with this placement are typically eager to share their ideas, which can sometimes be blunt and opinionated. They are also likely to seek deeper meaning in life and challenge the status quo. Saturn is in Pisces in all of December 1995, signifying a time for refining boundaries, embracing spirituality, and navigating emotional depths with responsibility. It can represent a period of learning to trust the unseen, let go of fear, and balance compassion with the need for healthy limits.